Well, hi there, I'm Caleb Jones. This is Alpha Male 2.0, freedom-focused lifestyle design for men. Today, let's talk about willpower, okay? This is something that most people don't understand. Science has now proven, they have scientifically and definitively proven, I just got done this morning reading a bunch of studies about this, that willpower is a finite resource on a daily basis. It's like the battery in your cell phone, okay? So that means when you wake up in the morning, you have a decent amount of willpower. Throughout the day, it gets less and less and less and less, depending on what you do or not do, depending on how hard your brain works. And by the end of the day, the afternoon, the evening, you have much less willpower than you did in the morning. You don't have a consistent level of willpower throughout the day. Now, I'm talking here about willpower, not about habits. So if you have the habit, let's say you've been working out in the morning 7 days a week for 10 years straight. You don't need any willpower usually to get into the gym. Even if you don't feel like it that day, you have the habit now. You've wired your brain to go in and work out even on days you don't feel like it. It's a habit. So you're not using as much willpower. Whereas let's say you're 300 pounds, you haven't worked out in your life, and now you're gonna start working out to lose weight. So you start working out in the morning. It's gonna be really hard to stay consistent because you need to use willpower every day. Make sense? I'm not talking about habits here. I'm talking about willpower, getting you to do something new. Getting you to do something you don't like to do, especially if it's that, okay? Now, here's an example of one of the studies they did. Really interesting stuff. This is really neat stuff, I think. I'm a nerd. I like these studies. So they took a bunch of people, and they had a bunch of people memorize a 2-digit number, and a bunch of people memorize a 7-digit number, okay? So when they were done memorizing the number, they brought each person into a room and they sat them down at a table, and as a reward for their work for memorizing the number, they could choose one of two things. They could choose a piece of their favorite cake, or they could choose a little cup of fruit salad, okay? So either a delectable dessert or a healthy snack, something healthy. Fresh fruit salad, whatever the fuck it was. Yeah, it's fresh fruit salad, okay? The people who had to memorize the 7-digit number were double as likely to choose the cake than the salad. And this is across gender, this is across age, this is across personality style. There was no other correlation between any other factor other than the people who memorized the 2-digit number chose generally the healthier option more often, and the people who chose who had to memorize the 7-digit number, okay? That means that they had to work their brain harder, and because they had to work their brain harder to memorize that 7-digit number, they had less willpower when they sat down in front of the cake or the fruit, okay? Really important you get this. So when you try to develop new systems in your life, new habits in your life, you have to remember that you have more willpower in the morning before your brain starts working than you do later in the afternoon or the early evening or even late evening, right? That's why people talk about how it's so hard to not eat bad food at night. That's actually not true. There's no difference in you being hungry at night or hungry in the morning. The difference is you have less willpower at night. So it's harder to eat the healthier food or refrain from eating at night than it is in the morning because you've been using willpower all day to eat healthy food. For example, that could be a business example, it could be a work example, it could be a dating example. Any new habit you're trying to impose in your life, in any area of your life, your business life, your woman life, doesn't matter what it is, right? So a few things around this. Number one is to make sure that whatever you're trying to get done in terms of a new habit, you should do it in the morning, okay? Even if it's a woman thing, even if you're doing online dating, if it's hard to get in the habit of doing that, do it in the morning. Do it like, you don't have to do it first thing in the morning, but you can. Do it in the morning, and so it's done because in the morning you have a lot more willpower usually than in the afternoon. The second thing is to not do too many things at once in terms of habit creation. In the SMIC program, join smic.com where I work with guys directly, I talk about the rule of 2. And that means that you only want to focus on just two, new areas of improvement or new projects at once. You can't focus on 27 things at once in terms of improvement. You can't say, I want to lose 40 pounds. I'm going to work on losing 40 pounds. I'm going to work on getting 2 new girls in my life. I'm going to double my income. I'm going to start my new business. I'm going to get a black belt in karate, whatever the fuck it is. Those are 5 things. You can't work on 5 new things. You don't have that kind of willpower on a day-to-day basis. You can work on 2 things. At best, 1 is better. Work on 1 thing, 1 new thing a day, that's much better than 2. 2 is okay. You go past 2 into 3, you got some problems. So those are the 2 things. Those are the 2 biggest things. There are lots of other things, but those are the 2 biggest ones. Focus on new habits in the morning when you have more willpower, and make sure you only focus on 2 areas of improvement at once. You've got to remember you do not have a consistent set of willpower throughout the day. It's very, very important. And obviously the main end game goal of this is to get the things you're using willpower on now and turn those into habits. So in The Unchained Man at alphamalebook.com, that book right there, I talk about the check system, where you pick 1 or 2 things to do on a daily basis, and if you did it that day, you get a check. You get a check mark. The brain likes that stuff. And maybe you map out a check system of maybe the next 7 days, 7 blocks. And so if you got up and you worked out that morning, you get a check. And your goal is to get 7 checks in the boxes at the end of the week. Like a little kid, that stuff works. Getting gold stars, right? When you were a little kid in kindergarten, that stuff works. That's how the brain works. But you only want to focus on 1 or 2 things. And the reason for the check system is that so you can turn these willpower items into habit items that don't require willpower. Cool? Cool.